friends, I am Ruchi Dubey, Assistant Professor from University of Allahabad. We all are teachers and we all know that the main purpose of teaching is to make the learner understand the content and learn. But whatever we do as teachers and whatever students do as learners depends on their motivation. So today we will be discussing the concept of preparedness and motivation. The first thing which we will discuss is preparedness. Preparedness is a state of readiness. Preparedness describes personal processes and capacity including feelings, intentions, arousals, management of one's feeling and actions in order to be ready to learn. Preparedness helps people to feel more confident and use rational thinking while responding to situations. There are 7 facets of preparedness: concern, anticipation, arousal, feeling, intentions, decision making, and management of thoughts, feelings, and actions. Therefore, preparedness means getting ready for some life event, that is, for a short period, or getting ready for a life episode, that is, for a long term, for 10 to 15 days, or getting ready for a life stage, that is, for a longer period. This preparedness depends upon motivation. If one is motivated, then only he or she will be prepared for action. So, now the question arises that what is motivation? Motivation is actually the internal force that instigates the person to act. It is the process of arousing movement in the organism. Motivation is very important for all. For us as teachers also it is important, and for students, process of arousing, sustaining and regulating activity, and this definition was given by Good. According to Atkinson, motivation refers to arousal of tendency to act to produce one or more effects. And according to James Drever, motivation is an affective cognitive factor which operates in determining the direction of an individual behavior towards an end or goal consciously apprehended. If we talk about the cycle of motivation, then we come to know that there are 3 stages of motivation cycle: need, drive and incentives. Need is the first stage of motivation cycle and it refers to desire or want. Need arises when a person feels excess or deprivation of something. In the state of need, a disequilibrium is created in the mind of the student or in the mind of an individual, and this disequilibrium created due to need arouses the person to act in order to satisfy his need and maintain this equilibrium. Due to need, a person starts thinking about the ways and means for the satisfaction of his need. The second stage of the motivation cycle is the motive or the drive. Motive is something which moves or induces a person to act in a certain way. It arises from our needs and it is the energy which gives direction and purpose to behavior. Actually, motive is a desire which influences a person's thoughts and actions, and motive arises due to need. Motive is the determination to act in a specific way to achieve the goal. For example, a girl has a motive to achieve high percentage in her examination. This conveys her determination to reach the goal, and for this she will plan certain strategies of studying to get high marks. Motives can be classified into 3 categories: physiological motive, social motive and personal motive. Physiological motives are those motives which are essential for the survival of the person. For example, food, water. Social motive is essential for socialization and it includes love, affection, prestige, respect. And the third category is personal motive, which depends on the personality of the person. and it includes person's interest, values, attitudes, goal, self-concept, etc. The next thing that comes in the motivation cycle is the drive. According to Woodworth, drive is a physical energy which activates the organism for action. Drive motivates the individual to work so that the need can be fulfilled. Drive is actually a state of heightened tension leading to behavior or activity. So, the drive is always goal directed. In a nutshell, we can say that drive is a motivating factor within the person which leads the person to act for a purpose. For example, hunger drive or thirst drive. The third stage of the motivation cycle is the incentive. Incentive refers to reinforcement. Incentive is something that attracts an individual. Receiving incentives satisfies the need and it lessens the drive. Incentive can be both positive or negative. Positive incentive is that which a person wants to achieve because it satisfies the need. For example, food, water. While negative incentive is that from which a person wants to keep himself away with, because keeping oneself away from the negative incentives satisfies the need. Now, if we talk about what is the relationship between need, drive and incentive, in this regard, Hildegard had said that need give rise to drive. Drive is a state of heightened tension leading to activity and behavior, and incentive is something from the external environment that satisfies the need and reduces the drive. The next thing which we will discuss today is kinds of motivation. There are two kinds of motivation, intrinsic motivation and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is also called natural motivation and it is linked to our natural instincts, urges and impulses. When a person is intrinsically motivated to do something, he performs that act with interest, and the activity which is performed with intrinsic motivation carries its own reward. For example, a girl reads a poem by herself because reading gives her pleasure. Another example can be a boy is always engrossed in solving puzzles as he derives pleasure in solving them. And a youngster spends most of his time in gym because he wants to look fit. These examples shows that the girl, the boy or the youngster are intrinsically motivated. In these cases, the source of pleasure lies in the activity itself. It means that intrinsic motivation has very real value in the learning task as it creates attention and interest and it sustains it throughout the activity. Opposite to intrinsic motivation is the extrinsic motivation. The extrinsic motivation is not related to the natural instinct, urges and impulses of the individual. If an individual does do something because of the desire of getting some external reward, then it is called extrinsic motivation. In extrinsic motivation, the source of pleasure does not lie with the task. The individual who is learning or who is performing or doing some act because of extrinsic motivation does not get any pleasure in doing that job. He does that work just because of the desire of getting that external reward. For example, if a mother says to a girl that if she will learn the poem, she will give her a chocolate and the girl starts learning the poem, this means that the girl is learning because of the reward of getting the chocolate. Another example can be if a father promises the boy that if he will be allowed to see his favorite movie on TV after solving the puzzle and the boy starts doing that puzzle, it means this is also due to extrinsic motivation. This extrinsic motivation can be in the form of reward, praise, gift or in the form of punishment also. As compared to extrinsic motivation, intrinsic motivation is a better source of inspiration as it brings better results in the teaching learning process. Next thing which we will discuss is the functions of motivation. Basically, there are 4 functions of motivation. First, that motivation energizes behavior. Second, motivation sustains behavior. Third is that motivation regulates behavior. And the fourth function of motivation is that motivation helps in the selection of appropriate behavior. Now we will be discussing each one of them in detail. The first function states that the motivation energizes behavior. It means that the motivation arouses the organism for doing the action. The second function was motivation sustains behavior. It means that the motivation not only energizes the behavior, but it also sustains interest in doing that behavior for a longer period. Third is that motivation direct and regulate the behavior of the organism. And the last function of motivation is that motivation leads to selection of appropriate behavior to reach the goal. As far we have discussed the concept of motivation, the kinds of motivation and the functions of motivation. Now the question arises that what are the factors that influence motivation of a person? So we can say that there are various factors that influence motivation, and these factors operate both within the organism and in the environment. Like the first factor that influences motivation is the physiological system. Second is the emotion. Sometimes the emotions or feelings of the person also influences his motivation. Emotions or feelings, they act as a drive and they pursues the person to progress further. For example, a number of people sacrificed their lives for the sake of their motherland India during the independence struggle. This was due to their emotion attached to the motherland, and this emotion motivated them to sacrifice their life. Another factor that influences motivation is the habit. Habit of a person act as a motivator, but all habits do not work as a motivator. Only those habits which instigate and regulate the actions are termed as motivators. For example, a person who has a habit of going on morning walk will be motivated to go for morning walk even in bad weather conditions. And he will be so much motivated for that during the rainy season he can go on morning walk by using an umbrella, or in the cold weather conditions he can go on morning walk with covering himself with muffler and sweaters and jackets. Another factor which influences the motivation is the mental set or attitude or values of the person. For example, a student with a favorable attitude towards a psychology teacher will always be motivated to study psychology. Similarly, a student with a political value will always be motivated to participate in student union elections. Another thing that influences motivation is the incentive. Incentives like reward, praise, etc. also serve as an external motivating factor. Last but not the least is the factor of environment that influence motivation. Environment includes the socio-economic condition of the individual. For example, a student living in a hostel where all other students are involved in preparation for competitive examination will also be motivated to study accordingly. Now, the next thing that we will discuss today is the theories of motivation. Various theories of motivation have been given by psychologists, and we will be discussing each one of them in detail. The first theory is the instinct theory of motivation given by McDougall in 1908. According to the instinct theory, every organism has certain birth instincts which works as motivation power for his ideas and behaviors. Next theory is the voluntaristic theory of motivation that states that the person's will and determination motivates him to act. Another important theory of motivation is the theory of Maslow, or it is also known as Maslow's hierarchy of needs. According to Abraham Maslow, when an individual feels the need of something for his survival, then in order to achieve that, he feels motivated. It means that it is the need of the person which motivates him for action. Maslow has proposed a hierarchy of needs in which he states that there are 5 types of needs. The first is the physiological needs like the need of food, water, rest. Second is the need of safety. Third is the social need or the need of belongingness. And the fourth is the esteem need. And the last is the need of self-actualization, that is, developing oneself by identifying one's own capabilities. According to Maslow, when the lower order needs are satisfied, then only higher order needs become active and they motivate the individual. It means that the individual is motivated to satisfy his higher order needs only when the lower order needs are satisfied. Next theory is Murray's need theory of motivation, and according to Murray, an unsatisfied need would arouse a person to work, and that work would be sustained until satisfaction has been attained. For example, hunger, which is an unsatisfied need, will arouse the person to search food and arrange for food, and he will continue doing so until the need of the hunger is fulfilled. Next in the line is the psychoanalytical theory of motivation given by Sigmund Freud. And according to Freud, there are 2 types of instincts, life instincts and death instincts. And these 2 instincts are the motivational source of all the behavior of a person. A person does positive or constructive work because of his life instincts, and he does destructive or negative work due to death instincts. In his theory, Freud has also given importance to unconscious mind. The unfulfilled needs and unfulfilled desires of a person are kept in the unconscious mind, and this unconscious mind indirectly motivates the person. Next is the theory of achievement motivation given by Atkinson. The motivation produced by the desire for achievement is called achievement motivation, or in other words it can be said that achievement motivation is the motivation produced by the desire for achievement. And according to this theory, motivation depends on the tendency to approach success and the tendency to avoid failure. It means that everyone is motivated to achieve success and to avoid failure. The next theory is the attribution theory of motivation given by Weiner, and according to this theory, a person attributes his success and failure to 4 basic factors: task difficulty, ability, effort and luck. And among these factors, ability and effort are the internal factors which are under the control of the person, while task difficulty and luck are the external factors which are not under the control of the person. And it is generally seen that people attribute their success to their internal factors, that is their own ability and their own effort, and people attribute their failure to external factors like task difficulty and luck. Task difficulty and ability are the stable causes, that is they remain same forever, while effort and luck are the unstable factors because they varies according to the situation. And it is generally seen that students' attribution for their performance is also related with their motivation. If a student attributes his success to his ability or to his effort, then it results in higher expectancy for future performance. Therefore, it increases his motivation. Similarly, if a student attributes his failure to controllable factors like to his ability and to his effort, then the person will try to modify his behavior. That is, he will try to modify or he will try to increase his effort in order to achieve better. So, the future performance expectancy will increase and it will lead to increase in motivation. If a student attributes his failure to uncontrollable factor like task difficulty or luck, then he will consider failure as inevitable because it cannot be changed. Contrary to this, if a person attributes his failure to uncontrollable factors like task difficulty and luck, which are not under his control, then he will consider failure as inevitable and it will lead to decrease in motivation. Similarly, if a person attributes his failure to a stable cause like his lack of ability, then there will be a low expectancy for future success because the person will assume that his ability cannot increase. Therefore, his future performance will also show less improvement. It means that it will lead to decrease in motivation. Till now, we have discussed about the theories of motivation, and you must have understood that motivation plays a very important role in the learning process. And now I'll be throwing light on this very aspect. Motivation plays a very important role in the learning process. Learning proceeds best if motivated. And some sort of motivation is present in all types of learning. Motivation is an essential condition for learning. Motivated students have readiness for gaining knowledge and they are easily and quickly able to learn the things. As against this, the non-motivated students do not have interest in learning and they experience difficulty in learning. So it means that motivation arouses and sustains interest in the learning process. It is the art of stimulating interest in the pupil. Learning becomes easy for the student when they have interest, when they are motivated for learning. And motivation also provides energy in the learning process, and in the absence of motivation, either there will be no learning or there will be little learning. As motivation plays a very important role in learning, the next thing that comes into our mind as teachers is that what should be the strategies for motivating students. Motivation has a practical aspect in the classroom teaching learning situation. Parents and teachers both face a number of behavioral problems related to children, and the explanation of these problems lies with the psychology of motivation. Parents and teachers are always concerned with the improvement of the performance and learning of the children. And children require constant motivation from their teachers and from their parents for the corrective use of their talents, which can maximize their progress. So, cut. For example, in a same situation, two learners may not be equally motivated for action. One student may be highly motivated and the other may not be motivated for action. Thus, it is very essential to motivate the learners. And psychologists have proposed various techniques of motivation that teachers and parents can use in context of children in order to improve their learning. Now, what are the strategies of motivation? Some of the strategies for motivation that can be used by teachers are: the first is the use of principle of pleasure and pain. The oldest theory states that pleasant experiences are sought by the organism as they give satisfaction, and painful experiences are avoided by the organism. It implies that the teacher must provide pleasant and satisfying experiences to the students in the classroom because such type of experience will motivate the students for learning. Another strategy that can be used by teachers is the use of rewards. Rewards creates interest among students. Reward can also be used by the teachers for motivating students for learning. Teachers may use reward of different kinds like material reward, like giving a gift or a chocolate, symbolic reward like making a star or a smiley in the notebook or on the palm of the student, And the teacher can also use psychological reward like praising the child in front of the class, saying good, excellent, etc. All the sorts of rewards has a positive effect in motivating the child for learning. Another strategy can be use of competition. Environment of competition in the classroom among students can help in motivating them. Competition is actually a strong incentive for motivating children, and teacher can use interpersonal competition, group competition and competition with oneself in his teaching. If there is a healthy competition among students, then it will serve as a motivating force. But if the competition takes the form of cutthroat, then it has a negative effect on the students. Another strategy that can be used by the teachers in the classroom is the use of cooperation. Cooperative learning environment helps in motivating the students for learning. The teacher should encourage active participation of all students in the learning activity. Teacher can also use the strategy of giving feedback for motivating the students. Feedback means giving knowledge of result, that is, information regarding whether the response is correct or whether the response is wrong. Feedback also helps in providing motivation to the student. For example, if a child responds correctly to a question asked by the teacher in the class and the teacher says good, then here the teacher provided information feedback regarding the response of the child, and this will encourage the child to give response of the question asked in the class, and he will be motivated for learning. Similarly, answer sheets being shown to the students after examination or a test also provides feedback to the students regarding their way of answering questions. And this knowledge of the performance works as a motivating force for the students in the learning process. Thus, learning becomes faster and effective when the learners are provided with the knowledge of their progress, which facilitates motivation, which helps in learning. Next thing that can be used by the teachers is setting of goal. Motivation, as we have already discussed, is a goal-oriented behavior. So teachers should encourage students to set goal for themselves. And if the student has set worthwhile goal for himself, then he will be motivated to achieve it. The teacher must also create need to learn among the students in order to motivate them. The teacher must create psychological and social need for learning among the students, because need is the first stage in the motivation cycle. Need of learning will motivate the learner to progress further. Teacher can also use the strategy of giving encouragement. Teachers should encourage students and should try to develop self-confidence among the learners. This will motivate the learners towards learning and doing action. With this, we come to the end of our session, and today we had discussed about preparedness and motivation. We have discussed about the meaning of motivation, functions of motivation, the cycle of motivation, theories of motivation, and we have also discussed the educational implication of motivation, that is, what are the strategies that can be employed by the teachers for motivating students. Thank you.